My name is Taylor White, and for my final project and reflection, I'm going to be talking about group conflict, transformational leadership, and then a TED Talk video that I found online. So, when I talk about group conflict and intergroup relations, I kind of think of like task, process, and relationship conflict. So, task conflict is basically disagreement about things about the group's goals and what they're wanting from that. Process conflict is when members don't agree on how people are doing things, or policies, methods, and strategies, when people don't agree on that. And relationship conflict is just when individuals don't like each other. People in groups are very competitive compared to individuals, and fear and greed are two causes of this. The two groups of boys in the home or the summer camp, the Rattlers, and I can't remember whatever the other one was, but they were fighting over resources and trying to basically best the other team, and then they started taking stuff away from the other team even when they didn't need to. So they were getting a little greedy. Usually adults can dislike for another person that they don't like, though, and they can work well with them just to be mature until it comes to a serious issue that they disagree on. Negotiation is a way that you can try to resolve conflict. You have to let each side explain their positions and exchange offers in order to come to a mutual agreement on a specific issue. And specifically integrated negotiation, because it identifies the issues that cause the dispute, and then it helps them work together to find a solution that satisfies everybody instead of just one person. So you're not getting the short end of the stick. Everyone's gonna be happy at the end of the day. So I'm also going to talk about transformational leadership, which is basically when you have a leader who interacts and engages with you. So in order to raise your motivation and your satisfaction in the group. So they elevate all of their followers to want to be better and motivate them, and they want to mentor them and help them develop further. So they use intellectual stimulation, which is when you question things that are considered normal, and you encourage new ideas and new ways of doing things. And you also have to use individualized consideration, which is basically you think about what each person needs and wants and what they can do, and then you use that, and that's how you make your decisions, and that's how you coach and you teach and you advise your members of your group. So for the TED Talk that I watched Conflict, Use It, Don't Diffuse It. So basically it was two women. They were talking about things that you can do to turn conflict into creativity. So using vulnerability and curiosity can do this. You have to face the challenge and not shy away from it, and you have to be open and honest. Instead of just running away from something that happened, or anything that happens, literally, you have to accept it and be willing to at least understand the opposite side of it. So in this they said vulnerability in this context is just basically how open you are about how a situation or a person makes you feel. Curiosity just means that you can hold your own views and be able to explore other people's without having to be right and trying to demean their views. It's not your way or my way, it is our way, and being open can lead to the most innovative ideas. They gave an example of how they were doing a mediation in a business, and it was a board member or a board um, board members, and one of the females, the men didn't like her ideas and they were getting frustrated. And then one of the men told her that he didn't like her very much and he didn't listen to her, but he wanted to get to know her more so he could start to understand her. And then they sat down and they had a conversation, and they were curious about each other's side, and they were vulnerable and telling each other how they felt. And eventually they came to a conclusion, and they integrated both of their ideas, and they made like this huge company because they were able to use the conflict in a way that was productive. So, intellectual stimulation and individualized consideration is definitely necessary. You have to challenge people's views, and you have to be able to understand that everybody has individual needs. You also have to challenge members to be open with one another and not allow everyone to get their ideas out, no matter if you agree with it or not. Because just because you have different ideas does not mean somebody else is wrong. Sometimes members of a group just don't get along because they don't understand each other. And having relationship style type of leadership could be best to help with this, just because it would be easier to mentor and guide people if you already have that kind of good relationship with people. This is just a quote I found that kind of related to my video that I've watched. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to cope with it. So basically, coping with that conflict and not just pushing it away and pretending like it didn't happen. So for my reflection, I kind of just wanted to talk about the group processes and how I see myself as a group member now after learning about so much about individual and group things, basically. So the most interesting thing to me is, well, one of them is like the different stages of groups and what to expect during the stages. It allows me to be able to kind of pinpoint where I'm at in different groups, and allows me to kind of understand why things are happening the way they are. And I mean, just understanding and being able to maybe kind of cope through that and guide future groups out of phases early, and being able to have an open mind. It's interesting about the group formation principles like similarity and proximity, because I was thinking about my group, that's like my coworkers, like all the people that work with me. We're just one big group, and most of us were just in a group because we're proximity, we work together, and we're always together. But I have another group of specific people at work that I hang out with because I have a lot of similarities to them. So I just thought it was interesting because I can just kind of tell like the different types of groups and things that I didn't even consider groups, really. Group performance is also something that is very... Hello, my name is Taylor White, and for my... So for my reflection, I kind of just wanted to talk about the group processes and how I see myself as a group member now after learning about so much about individual and group things, basically. So the most interesting thing to me is, well, one of them is like the different stages of groups and what to expect during the stages. It allows me to be able to kind of pinpoint where I'm at in different groups, and allows me to kind of understand why things are happening the way they are. And I mean, just understanding and being able to maybe kind of cope through that and guide future groups out of phases early, and being able to have an open mind. It's interesting about the group formation principles like similarity and proximity, because I was thinking about my group, that's like my coworkers, like all the people that work with me. we're just one big group, and most of us were just in a group because we're proximity. We work together, and we're always together. But I have another group of specific people at work that I hang out with because I have a lot of similarities to them. So I just thought it was interesting because I can just kind of tell like the different types of groups and things that I didn't even consider groups, really. Group performance is also something that is very interesting to me because the fact that group performance can be so quickly like thrown off, like facilitation and loafing, for example, just the fact that you can study stuff like that and then everybody does it. It's just kind of interesting to me to know that every single person does it because we have something going on in our brains that's telling us that we need to fit in and like having that identity as part of a group. And if we feel like we're an incompetent member, then we're going to have a lower self-esteem and identity, and it's interesting. But when I think of myself as a group member, I think of all the times that I've noticed like I remember social facilitation being at work or social loafing. Sometimes whenever I do something that I'm not good at and somebody's watching me, of course, I'm going to do terrible at it. But if it's something that I'm good at, then I'm going to do way better. But if I'm in a group and I know it's something that I'm not good at, most of the time I will knowingly step back and let other people do more of the work just because I don't want to embarrass myself and do something wrong when I could have just allowed them to do it and not embarrass myself. Also talking about group cohesion and comparing that to like performance. Obviously I know that it kind of just put it into words whenever I am in a group of people I don't like and I just don't care for, and if I just don't feel together and like a team with them, I'm not going to work as hard, so we don't have as productive as a team. But if I have a team that it's people that I know and that I'm comfortable with, I'm going to put so much more effort into it just because I'm more comfortable, and it's going to increase our performance so well. So there's just so many different aspects to all of the different types of group processes for sure.